Hey guys, what's up? This is Awwyeeah, and it's an honor to serve the king. Today we're going to talk about just a little bit of a controversial subject. We're going to talk about the state of the Ironlights meta. So I have been wanting to do this video for a long time, but I've decided time and time again not to do it because I didn't want to influence players in a way that, if Awwyeeah says that this class is too powerful or too weak, I'm going to stay away from this class, or I'm going to play this class. And I really didn't want to create that type of sentiment along online players. I want to state on record that every single class is viable, every single class is capable of winning, and there's no one class that is too weak to overcome the meta. So I'm going to discuss aspects of the meta that is widely discussed on the forums, or on Discord I should say, widely, and we're going to analyze their styles. So I guess the best way to do that, I could do training room and then I'll go in live and demonstrate it that way as well. And so let's take a look at each class and we'll talk about their issues, shortcomings if anything, and we'll go through them one by one. And so we're just gonna let this guy defend because he will attack relentlessly if we let him. Alright, so let's talk about the first one on the list. Let's take a look at Duelist. So Duelist currently is a very, very strong fighter class. The Duelist, notably, has been nerfed several times. What recently got nerfed with Duelist was the anti-pairing. Duelist used to be able to do this motion with the hand and just refresh constantly and be able to full block an entire weapon. For instance, it could full block the entire Knight blade, both blades, just by doing this motion, and it can full block Monk and render their attacks completely useless. And this is all without use of the shield. I believe the shield health had got reduced at one point, and then it got brought back up maybe halfway in that nerf. And I believe that the shield health right now is good, it's fair. I don't think it needs any type of buff or a nerf at all. In fact, and I know I'm not everyone, but I can actually play Duelist without using the shield at all. And I've done this several times against competent Knight players, monks, ninjas. Definitely, I don't need to use the shield at all in a fight because the defensive capabilities of the Duelist blade is so strong even after the nerf that a shield is actually not even necessary for the class. And so for those that use it, that's great. Me, I personally don't use it unless my opponent I know is gonna definitely give me a hard time. But recently I've been training myself not to rely on the shield even against really strong opponents. And you'll see in some videos that I'll post, in some upcoming videos, you'll see some clips of that where I fight very competent Knight players with only my Duelist blade and I succeed. So that's Duelist in a nutshell. Its ranged is still decent. You could still do some funky stuff. Now I think you have players that are doing like this sort of let's see if I could do it, sort of a wand motion. I don't even know how to do it, honestly, where they're like doing a Harry Potter type thing where they're just weaving around in a circle and then somehow it ends up under them and just shoots people. A lot of people are saying they like it because it's unique and not everyone can pull it off. Let's see if I can do it. I don't know how to do it, but yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen clips of it. I'll probably put a clip here of people doing the wand attack. It's kind of cool, yes, I get it, but I mean, if it can get interrupted, if you damage them, then cool, but if it's something that you can't prevent, and then it needs to get fixed. But that's my opinion on Duelist. I think damage is appropriate, is good, is strong enough. Doesn't need a damage nerf or a buff. It is fully capable to destroy any class right now, and I think the class is perfectly tuned right now. People are asking for a shield buff. That is completely unnecessary, in my opinion. But let's go on to the next class. Next class we are going to look at is Monk. So we're going to go like that, order. Monk is one of my favorite classes, and I started playing this class for several months. Monk is probably the most balanced class in Ironlights right now in terms of damage and damage output. But I will say that where it is falling short right now and is its defensive capabilities. And this isn't because of the class design. This is actually because of the anti-parry mechanic that was added into the game, where I don't know if I can show it here. Let's see if he will do it here. Where if you block and you try and refresh, sometimes only one of your blades will come back. See, well, I actually did it perfectly that time, but sometimes at random, I guess with the latency against certain players on the live matches, sometimes when you block and you go to refresh, only one end comes back and it leaves you vulnerable to attack. But aside from that, I believe arrows are good, decent amount of damage. It's a really, really nice class. The rotation speed is good for two-handed and one-handed. I think it's perfectly great. The only thing is that anti-parry mechanic for Monk needs to get fixed because it's creating some issues against certain players with varying latencies. So Monk is a very good class that I like. So that's Monk in a nutshell. Alright, so this is going to be a very controversial one. Ninja. Of course, with any type of online game where you have weapons, there's going to be the fantasy aspect where you want to use a weapon type that has two you can use with both hands. We understand that. I understand that, and I definitely feel that way too. But the problem with Ninja right now, it's not that it's too overpowered per se. It's that the developer has such an issue fine-tuning or balancing Ninja, because a little bit to this way to the left it's too weak, a little bit to the right it's too strong, and so it just seems that Ninja is constantly bouncing between too strong or too weak, and it's never, right in the middle. Recently what got introduced in the Ninja class is the double hit mechanic, where it does a lot more damage. Just if I can shake them. If you land two, see the 356 and 194, that's the double hit mechanic there, where it just does a lot of damage, and one of them will do an exuberant amount of damage when the double hit mechanic triggers. And so I think that's great. It's just that the double hit mechanic seems to be triggering when you do random attacks as well. Like you call this the crazy monkey. So it will trigger on that and just end up really eviscerating the health when it's spam against your opponent. So Ninja, it's a fun class to play, but it's not a fun class to play against, if I may say in my opinion. Just because the way it works is just nearly impossible for the defender to try and use any defending style that will, if you defend against a class and you say you block about 60% of their attacks and only 40% gets through, that's a good defense. But it just feels like with Ninja, about 70 to 80% of their attacks always make it through. And with the double hit mechanic, it hurts a lot more because you're dealing a lot of damage to you in one a very competent ninja will be able to take down your health bar by 40% in their first rush. And that's just on average. Sometimes slightly less, maybe the minimum up to 30% for your health, but I've never seen a competent ninja deal less than that, unless I'm playing a class that I'm able to defend it extremely well. Say I can block ninja well with Crusader or Monk. Those two classes seem to do well against ninja, but all the other classes, I'm not too familiar with every other class. Perhaps Dragoon 2 would be good, but they really struggle against ninja, able to attack from many different directions, and you can't seemingly block any attacks. And then the double hit mechanics triggering, I don't know, it's just a mess. What E has said online, sorry, excuse me, is that he would be willing to replace the ninja katars with the dual short swords if we get enough traction behind that. I would be one that would personally be behind that change, because it's not that I don't like the style of ninja. I think it's a great class. I just think it's extremely hard to balance. But the dual short swords feel great, they maneuver great, and has excellent physics, and the damage can be adjusted, to where it feels right. And I think it would be a better addition in the game than the ninja. We would be able to retire ninja and put dual short swords in there instead, and I think most people would be happy, including a couple champion players that are notably known for playing ninja classes. If I may, like for instance, Sync, who is like the ninja guru, said on record that he would actually prefer to use the dual short swords. We're gonna dub it named the Valkyrie class for now, instead of the ninja katars, because the katars just are problematic. Let's just call it what it is. It's a little problematic, but it's not impossible to deal with. But it's one of those things, like when you're competing in a best of 3 and you see ninja, it's like, oh man, all right, this match is lost. that's the overall sentiment that you feel when you pull up in the match and you see that they have the katars on. You're like, okay, this one is a 1-0 already. So yeah, that's ninja in a nutshell. I still think that the ranged attacks is very fun to use. It's so cool, it's like the Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha, and I think you do some creative things where you stagger the attack, and it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool ranged attack. Bullets, or you can charge, and mess with your opponent. It's cool. It's a great design. It is a good design. It's just ninja is frustrating to deal with in terms of its power balance. So I think I rambled on enough about ninja. Let me know in the comments description down below what you guys think. Should we replace ninja with the Valkyrie dual short swords, or should we keep it in the game? Let me know. We're gonna take a vote. Alright, so that's enough of that. Let's go ahead and look at Knight. Oh, it's like the controversial role right here. Knight and ninja. So Knight has had a long history of changes. Where it used to be extremely difficult to use, meaning so that it would actually swing like a heavy weapon, and you can feel the gravity and the weight behind it when you swing. Right now, as it is currently in the game, Knight feels no different than an oversized Duelist blade, and it doesn't really swing like a heavy weapon should swing. Instead, you're using it to do quick-paced attacks and maneuver around your opponent, which is cool. It's different than what it was historically speaking, but I guess the problem that most players have with Knight is that it doesn't feel like a two-handed heavy weapon. It feels like an oversized Duelist blade. It can do some cool things now that it never used to. Like for instance, we can do the Knight bullet, pull that off, and that's pretty cool. I absolutely love that about Knight now, to be honest. I have adjusted myself to using the physics that it's prone to right now, but I know that it's not popular, especially amongst the older generation of Ironlights players. They prefer the older style, where essentially I don't know if you guys remember from my initial videos, you can see in my Duelist video, my very first Duelist video, the decapitator in action, where they spun it and it just went in a circle and it just eviscerated shields and destroyed opponents. You wouldn't be able to block fast enough, but it was back then when Knight had those physics that it actually felt like a heavy two-handed weapon. So right now it feels kind of weightless. Hopefully, I don't know what we can do to overcome that. I still think it's a very fun class to fight against, and it's a very fun class to play overall. I just know that the opinion of the class is that it's just not fulfilling the fantasy of a heavy blade. It certainly looks like one, but when you in practice, it can do some really weird physics. It's not so much so that people are fainting a lot like before. It's just fainting has honestly become part of the game. As Knight, as you can see, this Knight actually is very hard, and you can see that even the training Knight, you have to sort of feint, right? You have to fake out and shake and like you're almost playing basketball just to land your attacks with it, because that's how the physics are. And if you don't do that as a Knight player, then you're not playing Knight correctly in this current meta. You have to absolutely do that. I have seen cases where there are very competent Knights that they're just utilizing the edge alignment and they're just swinging and they're swinging and they're swinging in many different directions and they're landing many of their attacks. But in most cases, against a very competent defender, just swinging won't cut it. It won't cut it most of the time. And so you have to incorporate a little bit of shakes in your style, especially once your opponent recognizes your swing pattern. And so that's Knight. I think overall, Knight is a very fun class. It's one of my favorite classes right now as well, and I think it's great. I guess a part of me wishes that it did have sort of the swingy gravity physics that it had before, without the reintroduction of the decapitator. If we can do that, I think Knight would be in the optimal place. In terms of damage, I think damage is good. Damage output is good. Its defense is good. It's just the fantasy that needs to change. So that's Knight. Okay, let's look at the next one. So I don't really have too much of an opinion about Reaper. For me personally, I think Reaper was at its best when it was truly a glass cannon type class. A glass cannon, and I mean that where Reaper had very high damage. Well, let's just call it, it's in very high damage, right? And it had this shield faded fast, but it's because it had the capability to deal high damage. So really, Reaper was a very rush playstyle. So you had to get in there and you had to do as much damage as possible, and you had to really utilize your energy and not give your opponent any chance or opportunity to recover. And as soon as you get back, you charge again, you get up to a full, even if you're full vulnerability and you're attacking again, you're relentless because you're a Reaper. You came to reap it, reap the other person. But now the style has shifted to where it's dealing mediocre damage, and its shield is actually very formidable. As you can see, I'm not using my blade at all to block, and its shield is just really holding up against these attacks. See, it only did like, what, 60%, 40% of my shield, and I'm just taking direct hits with shield, and it's able to block and regenerate very quickly. And so that's where Reaper has evolved from a glass cannon into a very bulky weird and mediocre damage type class. And I guess the main advantage of playing Reaper, besides its shield, is that its curved blade still allows it to get behind the enemy's defense by using very weird attacks. And so it's very much unblockable, and I think the damage that it deals for it being unblockable is acceptable. It's just that it doesn't feel like a Reaper class, at least to me. Like, in my opinion, a Reaper type class should be strong offense and weak defense. You can break through its defense quickly, but if you don't take advantage of that, it will destroy you. And I think that's where Reaper was best. So its range attacks still cool. You still do some weird things, attack from multiple different directions. So all in all, it's not bad. It's just, it's not for me. I would say it's just not for me. I know other players, they love it, and I know other players, they wish that it was the glass cannon. And so that's Reaper. Let's take a look at Crusader. Man, I could talk about Crusader all day, but I'll keep it brief. Basically, Crusader used to be very weak, where it had no internal mechanic to regenerate its shield. Basically, it was just a ticking time bomb that as many times as you get hit, your life force was just diminishing and diminishing and diminishing. But now, if you're competent with Crusader, you can keep your shield health up somewhat. If you're able to block effectively, you don't have to worry about your shield becoming the size of a walnut. If you know how to shield block effectively, or flail block effectively, you regenerate a portion of your shield, and it just feels so good when you practice for literally years. For me, I think it might be a year and a half, or I've been playing Crusader, so it feels like part of my arms. The shielding felt, it just feels like an extension of my body. It's just natural to play for me, and so it's very rewarding to see that my as many months of practice is rewarded by how I play. Like, I'm playing at my best level right now, and that I have ever played, and I can see that rewarded when I fight opponents. I'm able. There's no funky moves, with Crusader. It's straight. Attack. It's not gonna disappear and reappear on you. It's very straightforward class, and I love that about it. I just absolutely love this class. Love it so much. This is my favorite class in Ironlights. My first love. Yes, I love Crusader. I could just clean and talk about it all day, but I'll spare you guys. Its range attacks, it did get nerfed a lot. It used to do a lot of damage, but now it does little tiny baby damage, and that's okay. I mean, really, no one really used it to damage the opponent, although it was nice because Crusader wasn't the strongest class. But really, you want to just use range to stop their energy generation, and so that's how I use it right now. And yeah, it's a great class. It is a great class, just like Monk. Not overpowered, not underpowered, it just feels just right. So that's Crusader. Alright, let's look at Samurai. Another controversial. Samurai. So Samurai can pull off some insane stuff. Samurai is a one blade weapon, has one hit point, like most other classes, but it is extremely fast. Range attacks are good, can be spammed, of course, but that's okay. That's just the style of the class. But the problem with Samurai is that it's extremely fast, and just eviscerates the health of the player. And if the player is bold enough to charge against Samurai will completely destroy that player. Samurai is one of the classes that if you charge against, you're probably going to die immediately. And notably so, I mean, there should be a class that fulfills that. I think Samurai does it well. I just think it does it a little bit overly abundantly too well. If you get headshot or struck with vulnerability against a Samurai player, they can hit you for about 15 to 16, 17, sometimes 1800 damage in one strike to your head. And that's like literally 20% of your health bar in one strike. That's a little bit too strong. I think damage needs to be nerfed. If it's either the damage or the speed. I think most people play Samurai for the speed element, and so the damage would need to be adjusted just a tiny bit so that it's not overly incredible. I mean, compared to Knight, a headshot will probably deal about at most 1100, but then Samurai just does about 300-400 more damage than that as a single blade weapon. I get it, it's one hit point, so it's probably easier in theory to block than Knight, but that's only if they were swinging at the same speed. Knight or Samurai is swinging 3 times as fast as Knight and is dealing about twice the amount of damage, so that needs to be fixed. You can't have both speed and damage. You can keep the speed, which will eventually give you damage because your opponent can't keep up with the speed of the weapon, and so the damage needs to be adjusted to compensate. So that's Samurai in a nutshell. It's pretty straightforward. The shields are great. Defensive is great. And I don't think it's too powerful. It used to be too strong, but now I think they got the adjustment just right. It's just the damage is too much, and that's that. So, Berserker. My opinion on Berserker has changed quite a amount of times recently, and that was due to my own incompetence. I didn't really understand how to fight against Berserker until I figured it out one day, and I won't throw it under the bus by saying how to fight it here. I'll let people figure it out. But in my opinion, I believe Berserker offensively is great. It deals a good amount of damage. I think it's perfectly tuned, actually. I used to think it was probably too much damage hitting from below, but I can see why it needs it, just being such a bulky weapon. I think Berserker is tuned perfectly offensively. Defensively, I think it could probably use a minor adjustment. I personally wouldn't want to make Berserker any stronger defensively. I'll leave that to people. I don't really know what the best way to defend. I know like lollipop style. Some people, they use like a motion like this to defend, and it seems to work really well. Some people use like the pull refresh or something like that, and there are different defending styles, so the defense isn't really an issue. But where I hear most people complaining about Berserker right now is that its range is kind of awkward to use. I mean, now you have the ability, if you strike and you twist your hand, you can send it to the left, or you can send it to the right, or you can send it upwards, or you can send it down, I think. I don't know, I have to practice that one. But I don't think the range is that bad. It just seems like a waste, because a majority of the time when you use it, you never... it's very easy to dodge. It's very easy to dodge, so I don't know, they need to do something, maybe make it bigger, more particles, or maybe more particles probably. Maybe you can double the amount of particles, split each in half and just create more, so it's like a dust wave. This just needs something, because it's very weak. I don't know if it's as weak as Crusader. I would say they're probably on the same level. But I think that it costs more energy to use Berserker, and I would have to test that in another video. But overall, it's not too bad. I think it's good, offensively, defensively. With practice, it's very strong. I've seen Berserker players that can full block, like even my monk, with good defensive style. And so I would say that it doesn't really need any adjustments offensively or defensively. Its range could probably use a change. And so that is Berserker. So let's take a look at Dragoon. Another controversial. It's like, you can see like it's like this one is like balanced because you have like good, right? Then you have that one, controversial, and then you have good, and then you have controversial. Well, I don't know. It's all perspective. All perspective. Anyways, all right. So Dragoon, there's a lot of issues. A lot of players have a Dragoon, and it's not really anything too crazy. I think mainly it's the ability that with the way the meta is structured, Dragoon can really get around defenses very easily, notably so because of its speed. But where it gets kind of shaky is when the Dragoon player starts shaking and like faking out the opponent and doing all sorts of moves like that. It's very hard to defend against. I don't know why, but Dragoon just seems to deal massive amounts of damage for no reason. And the reason I say that is you can block 70% of a Dragoon's player's attacks, but the 20% or the 30% that he gets through somehow takes out 35 to 40% of your health bar. And I don't know how that is. Like, I feel like if you block 70% of the Dragoon player's strikes, then you should probably at most lose 15 to 20% of your health. But always in practice, I don't know how, like, these Dragoon players on no vulnerability, they're landing hits for 500, 400, just really heavy-handed strikes for no reason, like on your shoulder and just a lot of heavy damage. I don't know what's going on with Dragoon. I think it's fun to play. It's fun to maneuver. It feels really good. It feels really good to use. I love the physics. I absolutely love the physics of it. It's just, I don't know, it's been nerfed like twice already. And it's just, the damage that can be done with it is just unreal. A lot of people are asking for damage reduction again. I don't know how I feel about it, because it is one main single point of main damage, but it just seems like Dragoon is like the jack of all trades. It has extremely good defense, it has extremely good speed, it has extremely good range, it has 2 range attacks, not just one, it has 2. So it's extremely good defense, extremely good offense, it has extremely good range attack, it has extremely good speed. It doesn't really have a weakness. It doesn't have a weakness. And so that is, if you want to say S tier pinnacle class, definitely Dragoon and Samurai would compete for that role. I think it's an excellent, a fun class. I wouldn't want to change, like, oh no, scrap Dragoon. No, it's amazing. It's just too amazing. It can't do it all. It can't have the best range. It can't have the best offense. It can't have the best defense. It can't have the best, well, almost second best speed. Because I would argue it's probably about slightly under Samurai in terms of speed. But it can't do it all. And that's the problem. It does it all right now. It's the perfect weapon. Why use another weapon when you could use one class that does it all? You need a great defense? Use Dragoon. You want good range? Use Dragoon. If you want good offense? Use Dragoon. You want good speed? Use Dragoon. Why use any other class? And that's why a lot of players in the online rank right now is about a 50% chance that their second or first choice will be Dragoon as a champion rank player. And to me, that's not my style. I don't play the meta. I don't choose classes because of its relative strength. I play classes I enjoy because of the style. But Dragoon, I love it, but at the same time, I feel dirty for using it against, like, even in practice matches. I feel like when I use it, it's like, oh, you're using Dragoon. I'm like, sorry, I just want to play it, you know? But you just feel wrong using it because it's just too good. So something needs to be done about Dragoon. Something needs to be done. It needs a weakness. It needs some type of weakness. I don't know what that is. I'll leave that to the experts on Discord to discuss that, but it needs a weakness. And so that's that. Every other class has some type of weakness. Dragoon has none. And so we need to figure out how to incorporate that in there somehow. All right. And to the final class, we have Scourge. Another class I am modestly knowledgeable about, but I'm not the best opinionated, I would say. I would say that the best opinion player is Goon on Discord. He knows a lot about the physics, and he's been playing Scourge consistently since his inception. And I think he has a lot of great ideas about Scourge. I feel like its attack is good, but now, from what I understand, is that there is an internal cooldown on the whip crack. So it sort of charges up, and then it will whip crack after a while. So I don't know if you have to pause, and then it does it again. Like, you have to pause. Yeah, I think there's a period that you have to pause between you get another whip crack. I don't know, it's kind of awkward to use. I like that the damage was adjusted because you could just obliterate people's health. It was basically Ninja 2.0. And the damage now is still strong. It's just utilizing the whip cracks are kind of awkward. And so I know that one of the suggestions that he asked for was to change the way that the internal cooldown works. And I could definitely see that. He also, I think that they also asked for the grip, that when you grip Scourge, that I guess you're holding it from more upward as far as down at the bottom. I don't know how that would change the physics, but that's just a change that was requested. And so in terms of range attacks, I think it's cool. I feel like you could do a lot of unique stuff with it. But just one of those classes. It's nice to have. It's not too overly. You can definitely block it. You see, and this is an example of a two-handed weapon that can actually be blocked in practice against other classes. So it's like a wiggly, in a way, a wiggly two-handed, one-handed short sword. But in practice, you can actually block a good amount of attacks if you position yourself well. As far as where Ninja, it just seems no matter what you do, you're getting hit for a majority of the damage, and so that's just overall bad design. As far as Scourge, doesn't seem to be that bad. But I think E has gone on record that he says the two classes that he regrets making is Ninja and Scourge, just because of the two-handed nature. But I will say that Scourge is not that bad in comparison to Ninja. I think it's actually really good and fun to use, and completely viable. Definitely completely viable and ranked. It just needs a little adjustment. I don't know if it's moving up the hands or down or lengthening or shortening. I don't know, but I'll leave that to, like I said, the Discord champions on that one, that play the class to discuss that more. Well, that was all the classes in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Definitely remember, if you want to check out the merch store, definitely click the link. It's in this description, where I have merch for every single class you see here. And I also have my own, it's the Honor meme collection, and also my regular stuff there based on the channel. So definitely go ahead, check it out, and I hope that I will see you guys online. Definitely let me know what you guys think about what we discussed here, especially about the controversial classes about the meta, and I will catch you guys online. It's an honor to serve the king.